dear friends. First of all, on behalf of the All India Kisan Sabha, I extend my greetings to the distinguished members of the panel in this webinar and also to all the other distinguished members of the audience. I would also like to first congratulate the CFA for having organized this series of webinars on very, very vital issues which are facing our country today. And the issue that has been taken up today regarding cooperatives, cooperative banks, and their relevance for the future of India, I think that is a very, very important issue that we need to discuss, not only in view of the current ordinance, which has been undemocratically done by the central government, but also on a much larger basis. Since I represent the All India Kisan Sabha, naturally the whole cooperative sector, especially credit, especially the production sector like sugar, milk, etc., these are all very important issues which are very deeply connected with the peasantry of India. And therefore, very briefly, I will place 4 or 5 points within the time constraint that we have been this thing under. You see, the whole cooperative movement, I'm talking only about the Indian situation. I'm not going for lack of time to any other country. But the whole cooperative movement actually, it was in a way a byproduct of the freedom struggle of India. It had social goals. It had goals of bringing people together in a cooperative system. In fact, right from the pre-independence time, cooperatives were set up in various parts of India. After independence, they to some extent flowered in different places. But after independence, we saw two tendencies that beset the cooperative movement in our country. It may be credit in the sense of banks, it will be sugar cooperatives, milk cooperatives, storage cooperatives, etc. There are many types of cooperatives where there are institutions which are there. But two basic things happen in large parts of the country where the cooperative movement began. In course of time, the cooperative movement was in a way captured by the rural rich. I'm talking about the rural cooperative movement. It was captured by the rural rich, the landlord lobby, the rich peasant lobby. They were the ones who tried to control it. One classic example is on my own state of Maharashtra. Although the cooperative movement was begun by a very famous individual, Mr. Dhananjay Rao Gadgil, and the first sugar cooperative factory in Ahmednagar called the Pravara factory was set up by Mr. Vittal Rao Vikhe Patil. That was a very good move, a move with actually the intentions were very good to see that all the sugar farmers are brought into the entire system. Instead of there being private sugar factories, all farmers own that sugar factory collectively in a way, so that's why it was called a cooperative sugar factory. It began well, but later on, what happened was, not only in Maharashtra, but in many other states, where the left movement could not be so strong, the whole thing was actually hijacked by the big people in all those states. And this is the actual grassroots experience which all of us are aware of in several states of our country. And therefore, cooperatives became the grazing ground for the MLAs who were elected on that basis, for the members of parliament, for ministers, and they sort of prepared and treated these as their personal fiefdoms. Then, of course, corruption came in, a lot of mismanagement came in. All these things happened on one side. There were, of course, some honorable exceptions. For example, the Amul story in Gujarat, the Kheda cooperative, which was definitely a very good exception as far as all these are concerned. Matthew Kurian, I think, was the person who was behind this. But later on, then even there also some deterioration has begun in recent years. On the other hand, in states like Kerala, which had a strong left movement, the cooperative movement was also actually controlled by the middle and the small peasantry. And that created a lot of difference between, say, states like Maharashtra and others on the one hand, and states like Kerala on the other, where the cooperative movement right from the beginning not only became strong, but it actually became much more pro-people in the real sense of the term. So these were the two things that happened after independence for about 30, 40 years. In that trajectory, it went ahead. We come to a very major watershed, and that watershed is the liberalization policies of 1991. Now, the 1991 policies of liberalization, privatization, globalization, etc., they attacked whatever was good in the earlier system, and they aggravated whatever was bad also in the earlier system. In one sentence, we can say this. So, in the course of time, although in the first few years, the immediate attacks on cooperatives did not come, later on, these attacks on the cooperatives started from the central government and from the Reserve Bank of India. One example which I would like to give was the Prakash Bakshi Committee that was appointed by the Reserve Bank of India in the early 2000s. They made a very shocking recommendation. And this shocking recommendation was that all the primary agricultural credit societies, they should become like business, adjuncts of the district cooperative banks, central cooperative banks. Their membership and their assets should also be transferred to the district central cooperative banks. What does this mean? That this very important institution of some kind of a democratic structure, the PACS, that is the primary agricultural credit societies, cooperative societies, their existence was sought to be destroyed. And this was a very major strike by the Prakash Bakshi Committee of the RBI at the entire cooperative system in this country. Now, the thing started functioning according to this, and that created a lot of discontent, a lot of problems in all states in the country. It also created a problem of federalism, because cooperation is under the state governments. But here the Reserve Bank of India, under the aegis of the central government, is making rules and regulations covering and attacking in a way the cooperative sector, which is directly under the state governments. So this created again a very big anomaly. That means the cooperative movement was also hit. The state governments were also hit. So this is the dual attack that took place after that. Another thing that happened was that, as correctly pointed out earlier, the urban cooperative banks were directly taken over after 2014 in the Modi government by the Reserve Bank of India. So the urban cooperative banks right now are directly under the RBI. The district and the local cooperative banks are still under NABARD. But unfortunately, another tendency which must also be understood and taken note of, a very worrying tendency, is that the power of NABARD in the last few years of liberalization, and especially under the current BJP government, the NABARD is also being actually cut down to size. Cut down to size in the sense that it is not question of this thing, but it is being devalued, NABARD, and that is a very worrisome thing. NABARD had a very important part to play in refinancing the rural credit institutions, cooperative institutions, but now its legs are also being cut. This is a worrisome thing that we should all take it into mind. Now, after this, today, with this new ordinance, which is aimed at the urban cooperative banks and the multi-state cooperative banks, where again, their autonomy is being hit again, and bureaucratic measures by the Reserve Bank of India that is Reserve Bank represents the central government. These are being actually used to attack the cooperative movement more and more. So this is one very important thing that is happening. Now, why is all this happening? We have to go to the roots of why this attack on the cooperative sector. Basically, this is because of, ever since the liberalization process began, we have a situation where the main intention of the government at the center, whichever party it may be, 91, of course, it was the Congress which introduced these policies. Now the BJP government is going at double speed. But the basic question is that they want the corporate sector to gain, the multinationals to gain at the expense of the working class, the peasantry, and also the cooperative sector. This is the important contradiction that all of us must be aware of. And that is why this attack on the cooperative sector is being launched, precisely because that they want anything that is collective, anything that is helping the people to some limited extent, they want to attack this tooth and nail. And that explains the growing attacks of liberalization on the cooperative sector right from 1991 onwards. And these attacks have more increased in the last 6 years of the BJP rule. We have seen in earlier days, just 1 or 2 years back, how the RBI itself was attacked. How thousands of crores of rupees of the RBI were taken over by the central government, by the Modi government. All of us are witness to that. And now they aim to do that same to the cooperative banks also. How do farmers come in this whole picture? How do the peasants come into this whole picture? You see, all of us are aware that farmer suicides has become a very major social issue. It's become a political issue also in the last 25 years of the neoliberal policies. From 1995 to 2015, more than 3 lakh farmers have been forced to commit suicide in our country, in almost all the states. And after that, in the last 4 or 5 years, that number must have gone to over 4 lakhs. 4 lakhs unprecedented farmers having been forced to commit suicide. This never happened in the first 40 years of independence, but now it has been happening with tremendous speed. Why is this happening? One very important reason, apart from the fact that the cost of inputs is going up, the prices they are not getting. Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, seminal report of the National Commission of Farmers, which said that every farmer must get minimum support price at 1.5 times the cost of production. That was the seminal recommendation of Dr. Swaminathan, which no government has actually implemented. These are the two basic reasons. But the third reason is connected with the banking system, connected with credit. And that reason is that in the neoliberal era, the credit that is institutional credit, credit from the banks, credits from the cooperative societies, those that is being given to the farmers has reduced. And because it has reduced, farmers have been forced to go to the rapacious money lenders, private money lenders, who are charging interest in various parts of the country, which is to the tune of 36% to 60% per annum. And this is the situation today in our country, where institutional credit is not available, non-institutional private money lenders credit, where they are forced to go, and they have to take a tremendous amount over there and pay the thing, and that is the source of the debt trap. So the cooperative credit societies being attacked, being given less funds. The banks also, I'll give you a very classic example of Mumbai. One of our economic experts have brought that 2-3 years ago, the agricultural loan given all over Maharashtra, 51% of the agricultural credit was given to the so-called farmers in Mumbai. Now, this is a laughable thing. Anyone who has come to Mumbai will never see a single farm. I think in Chennai also it is the same issue. Delhi or Kolkata, it is the same issue. Metropolis centers, there are no farms. There are no farmers. Then to whom was this 51% credit agricultural given? It was given to the agri-businesses and to the corporates like the Ambanis, Adanis, and also Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. So this is how the whole credit situation is being skewed, and that is how the farmers come in. Sugar cooperatives, milk cooperatives, I've already said, except in Kerala and some other places, in many other places, they are being controlled by the rural rich lobby, and this is also creating a problem. I'm concluding and by saying this, that in this whole situation, I think the cooperative movement is still a ray of hope. It's still a ray of hope in our country. It needs to be strengthened manifold. A struggle needs to be launched to protect, preserve, and then strengthen the cooperative sector, because that is the sector which actually, taken in the right spirit, can bring all kinds of people together, especially the poor, the peasantry, the workers. There are workers' cooperatives also, as we all know, and also the whole credit system. This can be actually channelized towards a better India, and therefore this attack on the cooperative sector must be resisted tooth and nail by the working class, by the trade unions, by the peasant organizations, and also by all right-thinking people in this country. Also, the whole attack of neoliberal policies, which are, in a very hackneyed phrase, enriching the rich and making the poor much poorer, these policies also need to be fought tooth and nail in the current situation. I think that this is actually, if this can be done, some kind of a future for India, and that also in this COVID pandemic. The last point I would like to say, that very rightly the earlier speakers have pointed out, we are today having an ordinance Raj. There is no parliament functioning. In countries like the USA and the United Kingdom also, parliaments are functioning. You know, they may be virtual functioning, they may be physical, etc. But here, no parliament functions. There is an attack on democracy itself. There is an attack on secularism itself. And all these issues also, I think we should take account of while protecting the cooperative system. Protection of democracy and secularism is also very important for all of us in today's situation. Thank you very much.